Hey everyone, this is Trevor with Minerva YGO here with Thomas Pishock, and he, just like the handsome duelist that he is, got top 8 at the most recent Richmond Regional. I swear to God, guys, this is the only more chiseled man than yours truly, Trevor
Yes, sir.
Lee Parker. You played Mathmech today. How was it? How'd you do? Let's get into it.
The deck honestly was fantastic all day. My total record was 7-1-1, tying round 9 against Cash Tira. But yeah, I thought this deck was fantastic. I thought it was the best deck in the room personally, and I think the only reason I lost was just they just drew better than me.
That just happens to everyone. It really is. I mean, definitely happened to me. I scrubbed out quick that event. Oh my gosh. All right, let's just get into the deck.
All right, so pretty standard. I'm gonna go engine by engine. So starting with the Mathmech, 3 circular, 3 diameter, 2 sigma. I think this ratio is very standard for current Mathmech players. I opted to play double addition and double subtraction. I just valued having the level 4 extenders more often than just playing 1-1 like some lists do. I never had an issue bricking on them. If I opened 2 of them and nothing else, I just normal summoned one, special the other, and went straight into Albert from there. So I thought they were perfect. And then I played the 1 multiplication. A lot of people don't play this card, but it comes up a lot. Sometimes hands get a little awkward when you're trying to kill people, and you can't make update jammer into access code. So being able to send multiplication and make access code 10,600 in swing for game was just fantastic all day. And then
Nice.
we played
Did that come up at the event?
it came up almost every time I would make the big access code instead of the double attack access code.
Wow. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, this card has been amazing just every time I've seen it. And then we just play the 1 reborn and the 1 super factorial. Just pretty standard for the Mathmech engine.
Heck yeah.
And then for, I guess, my spice of the deck, I play the 3 microcoder and the 1 conflict in the main deck. This engine, I think, is just really broken. I don't know why people aren't playing it. Because your end board is Heat Soul plus both of the trap cards, and it's almost impossible for any deck to break that.
Gives
Especially
a
like,
large variety of interruptions rather than one line of it.
yeah, and then even going second, like sometimes like this helps you link climb into your access code or your transcode talker, and then you can search Signet mining to get your combos continued going. Like honestly, this card was so good all day. And then worst comes to worst, it's a small world bridge.
Yeah. And the trap card's not even a brick, because you're
No.
already going into Heat Soul anyways.
Yep. So yeah, I don't think there's any downside to this engine. A couple Mathec players that saw me playing it said they didn't like it because it was a brick, and I just don't think they fully knew how to utilize it.
The right
And
cards
then
are only the right cards in the right hands.
yes, sir. And then for the generic like Signet cards, if you will,
Hmm.
Parallel Seed, insane card all day long. And then Signet Mining for your consistency, and same with Small World. These are the only like other spells I play besides the Reborn. I don't like Desires in this deck. I personally just think it's kind of bad. I would rather be able to grind better and like guarantee my searches through this. And I think the deck is already so consistent that you just don't need Desires to draw.
Pot of Greed is nice, but I kind of agree with you in this deck. It just doesn't feel right, especially when you're playing the Signet cards. You have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
power added to it, to your engine,
Yep.
and you want to be able to search both traps when you're going for it.
Yep.
Nice. Very cool.
And then for hand traps, we're playing a lot of them just because it's kind of what Mathmech does. So we just have 3 Nib, 3 Ash, double Bell, 1 Veiler, and 3 Imperm. So like the Nib and Ash, I feel like are very standard for this format. They're good against like, Ash for branded, Nib for cash. Just same with like Imperm. They're just super generic for the format. The 1 Veiler is in here just for a small world bridge, because sometimes you do have to go from Nib to to circular, and Valor is kind of the only one that really fits that, like the math for that.
Hmm.
And then the Bell, I wanted to main deck something to not lose to Branded Expulsion game one, because I know in the area we're in, there's a lot of branded players. So I was fully expecting to play against them, and I just wanted to have that protection. And it protects Super Factorial in case they're playing like Bestials or something as well. So multiple uses.
Sure, I was about to say that like it's probably more generic than the Bestials against Expulsion because it can protect your own plays as well, rather than the
Mhm.
Bestials not being able to. And the Nibiru, that is a lot of people are choosing to not play that even in the main or side deck right now. How was it for you at this event?
It was pretty fantastic because if you just do the normal Heat Soul line,
Hmm.
like you end up drawing an additional two cards,
Hmm.
and seeing like Nib plus any other hand trap is kind of just a guaranteed way to make sure they don't crack your board.
I bet.
And especially because like there were a lot of Cash and Mathmech players, and I was like, I don't want to auto lose to those decks, and Nib is kind of a blowout for both of those decks.
I bet it was also especially insane when you're setting up the trap card because they're either summoning one card and you're winning the game, or they're
Hmm.
getting past your trap card and XYZ, and then they're playing into Nib.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. And just the 9 hand traps?
Yep, just the nine, and then the last card of my deck is one Kurikara.
Nice.
I've been played originally it was Lava Golem,
Okay.
and it was really nice because you can small world into this, and I
Hmm.
was like, well, against Kashtira, if they just Arise Heart pass, which is what a lot of people were starting to do, like Lava Golem's really bad. And Mathmech going second sometimes just struggles against an Arise Heart. So small worlding into this, forcing the Arise Heart activation, and then just Kurikara it away was just super insane. Sadly, it only came up once in the cash matchup, but I only needed it the one time, so it did its job, and I was happy to play it. And I'll probably continue playing it.
Yeah. A lot of Mathmech players that I've seen are main decking Gamma, which Gamma is a powerful card, and they
Hmm.
basically they get to also do the same thing that you described, small world into Gamma, and then Rise Heart's forced to trigger, and then Gamma outs it. But those
Yeah.
bodies don't really do anything.
Hmm.
And Kurikare has like a higher ceiling than Gamma, so I can understand why it might be good. Did it come up in testing more than the actual tournament at all?
This comes up in testing all the time. I did a good
Okay.
amount of testing against Kashtira, and this was fantastic, like every time.
Was this better than just the Kaiju, where a lot of people played just the Kaiju in this, or like Santa Claus in this slot?
It definitely was a harder choice
Hmm.
between like Santa Claus or this. It came up. It was easier to small world into Kurikara than Santa Claus sometimes
Oh, okay. Cool.
because you can in this deck the way it's built, you can go from any hand trap to Kurikara, where sometimes it's awkward to go from any hand trap to um, Santa Claus.
Okay.
But I think realistically, you could play either, and it would do the same job. I just prefer this more.
Yeah, I mean, any excuse for me to play Kurikara sounds good to me. Like,
Hmm.
whew. All right, so that's 40 cards, right?
41 cards.
41 cards. All right, got you there.
And then for the extra deck, most of it is pretty standard. Just the one Lingeribo, Update Jammer, Wicked. We play one Code Talker inverted. This is
Okay.
for the Code Talker combo. Sometimes you just need a link to Code Talker to go into. And it was either playing this or just the regular Code Talker that pointed up and down. But sometimes it was awkward because that Code Talker's attribute is dark, so you can't use this plus the microcoder in hand to go into Heat Soul. So this being a light was just a lot better.
Plus, this might have an effect where the other one will like never like its 500 attack gain effect. That nah.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
this one's effect to special summon, I think has
yeah,
come up. It came up once yesterday
that's
because a
awesome.
sprite player gave me a zone and I summoned this in the main monster zone and then used its effect.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. All right, that's pretty cool.
And then we played one IP, double Splash Mage. Originally, I was only playing one of this, but I cut it to two the night before, just because it came up a lot sometimes where playing through hand traps turn one, you have to make Splash Mage to go into Heat Soul.
Hmm.
And I wanted to still have one available for the OTK line.
Yeah, I like two splash mates too. I think it comes up.
And then for the Link 3s, just one transcode, one Heat Soul. I think this is also just very standard Link 3s.
Okay.
And for the Link 4s, double access code, just for the cash matchup, you want to be able to secure the kill going second. And I was playing one for a while, but they just kept banishing it, and then it became really awkward.
Right.
One Appaloosa. This is for if you end on like IP Heat Soul
Hmm.
and you're going against a monster heavy deck, you just go into Appaloosa. And it didn't come up yesterday at all, but in testing, this was my normal end board with it, and it was just fantastic in testing. But again, it just never came up yesterday.
That's perfectly fine. So I do have a question about the extra deck. A lot of people, I do see that you're playing two access code, which that makes sense.
Mhm.
And then you just accepted that update jammer was probably going to get hit with
Yep.
the Diabolos or the Unicorn. But that was fine because you were playing the multiplication
Mhm.
to still have the kill button with access code. That exact scenario probably came up at all, or
Actually, yeah, it did. I only got Diabolist, I think, twice yesterday.
okay,
And one time they hit Update Jammer, and the other time they hit Transcode, which I thought was a little weird.
interesting. Okay,
But like, yeah, in theory, making it 10K did work without having it.
okay, cool. That's awesome.
And then just the standard 2 and 1 for the XEs. I
Yep.
did debate between playing Appaloosa or a second one of these.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like, with your like if they hand trap you once and you have parallel exceed, you can make this on your turn and just hand loop them, and then make this again on their turn and hand loop them.
Hmm.
But I think that builds a little more like
You're,
risk versus reward kind of thing because you
you're
lose
putting a
out
lot
on
of cards
utility.
into it. Yeah, exactly. Um,
So
and your
we just
deck
went
is
with the
built
one.
differently. You play the counter trap, so your
Mhm.
engine does initially get to turn into another interruption. Plus, like
Yep.
you also play Appaloosa instead of playing a second update jammer, so IP can turn into Appaloosa, so you can just turn them into IP. It makes sense, absolutely.
Yeah, so I thought again this is pretty much standard and the ratio was good
Yeah,
all day yesterday.
that's awesome.
And then for
then
the side deck for the monsters, just two droll and one more ghost spell. These came in almost every single match.
yeah, a lot of people, especially in my testing group personally, were main decking Droll in all their lists, and I regret not main decking Droll because I put Droll in all the time as well. Do you feel like you would have main decked Droll looking back at?
It's hard because originally I wanted to, but I didn't know how many like control players there was going to be, as in
Hmm.
like Labyrinth, Trap Trick, what have you. So I didn't want to main deck it because I wanted more hand traps that were generically good into it.
Hmm.
And I was also respecting Gamma enough for cash to be like, okay, if I roll them and they Gamma me, I probably just lose the game.
Okay.
So I just thought siding it was a better option, but I don't think I would put it in the main deck. At least I'm glad I didn't for this tournament.
Cool. Got you there.
And then the third bell was, again, in case I go against Branded with all their Bestials and Expulsion, I just wanted to have that extra layer of protection from them.
Exactly.
And then for the spells, triple Dark Ruler, just because like Flu is a deck, the Sprite Testudo Lock is a deck. I just wanted something where I could just guarantee clear a board.
Think less.
And
Activate Dark Ruler.
yeah, exactly. It's like I don't have to worry about anything if they have no effects. It only came up one time against Sprite, and I just never saw it any other time. But it worked the one time.
Right. Well, good enough.
And yeah, exactly. And then for back row, just 2 Cosmic and 1 Feather Duster. I felt like this deck did well enough into back row where I didn't have to super heavily side for it, but I wanted to respect Runic enough to play the Cosmics. I ended up never siding these in, even in my Labyrinth matchup. It just didn't. I just didn't feel like I needed them.
Yeah.
But I'd rather like have them than not have them.
Yeah. Some hand traps are just good against Labyrinth that you don't even need to side those right now. Like even against Trap Trick, some hand traps are just good against them too. So
Yep.
I ended up cutting those from my list too because they just didn't really come up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways.
And then for the traps, we just have 3 Evenly. I think this is just super standard, this format. Just a really good blowout card against most, if not all, decks. Then 2 D-Barrier. This card was pretty good. It came up in the Mathmech Mirror match. Is the only matchup I saw it in. But again, I think it's just a really good card going first into like Cash, Sword Soul, Despia, just those like one extra deck type kind of decks. So I wanted to have something where if I just got hand trapped, at least this would save me a full turn.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the last card was 1 Appointer. I love this card.
Yeah.
Probably one of my favorite cards in the whole game.
Oh my goodness. And it works
came up
really well in a hand trap deck too because
Yep.
you're always going to have cards in hand.
And it came up in one of my Sprite matchups where it's like I looked at their hand and they had blue and jet and the rest were hand traps and I just hit the jet and it's like they just can't play the game after that.
Nice.
And that's it for everything.
That's awesome. So yeah, 41, 15, 15.
Yep.
Mathmech. How do you think about this deck in the upcoming format since this was the last like real event until the format changes?
I think it's still going to be a good deck. It depends on if people are playing more Bystials or not. Because I've like just looking at the decks that are coming out, like Super Heavy Samurai is playing Bystials. A lot of people are citing Crow. So it'll kind of depend on how the hand traps turn out, whether this deck continues to be good or not. I'm definitely still going to play it. I think with all the Firewall extra deck stuff, it gives this deck a little more versatility in its end board. Especially with like Terahertz being better. And now they have the fusion that you can send to grave to give you the spell negate. There's the XYZ you can send to grave to give you an imperm effect. Like the deck just gets more extenders, but I don't know if it really goes up or down in power level.
Well, the best thing you can do is just play it, figure it out, and make the next step if you need to.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, it still has access code, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for doing the deck profile, and
No problem.
hope to see you again next time.
Yes, sir.